Hey, babe. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Are you nervous? Shouldn't be, because you're gonna kill it.
I just want to be on time. Can we go?
Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's episode of Revolution Awakening. Thank you, everybody, for joining us today. I have my co-host with me.
What's going on? It's Jules. I'm so happy to be back with another episode. Today we have a real treat for you guys, and we're excited to get into it.
Yes. Well, we have a special guest in the house. We have a new installment that we are doing this month called The Future is Female. We're going to be featuring a new female every single month that is inspiring to us, that is passionate about what she's doing, whatever it may be. And we're really excited to have on Chef Tanya Nicole of Mmmedical Edibles. Say what up to everybody.
What up? Good
afternoon. So we're super excited to have you on. We have a lot to talk about. So for those who don't know you, I kind of want to tell everybody a little bit about you. I know that you are trained chef. You've been to Johnson & Wales, correct?
That's correct.
And you are a culinary nutritionist, is that right?
Correct.
Okay, so tell us, how did you get into cooking?
Well, I think like most people, food was always around, and definitely in family gatherings. I find that the women in my family are very strong, and they're usually the ones that were, taking care of the family, had their own careers, but always made time to make sure that we were all fed. I spent some time living with my grandmothers. My mom was a single mom. She had 2 kids, and, believe it or not, when I was 3 years old, I wasn't talking, but I was telling my grandmother, pointing to the refrigerator, pointing to the ingredients that I wanted, and then showing her the stove. Like, okay, Grandma, this is what I want, and please go cook that for me. So I've been watching her cook all my life, and it's a big stress reliever for me. Most people will say, oh, I work, and then I have to go home and cook. And to me, that's like when I unwind. Some people have a glass of wine. I like to cook. I like to look at my pantry and be like, okay, what do I have today? And I'm like, chickpeas, roasted pimentos, and corn, and pasta.
It's like chopped.
Yeah, exactly. It's chopped every day. And I'm sure that most people could agree to that, whether you're on an income or you're, hustling and making money, but you just don't have time to cook for yourself. A lot of times you find yourself either in front of the fridge or the pantry, like, okay, what are these random ingredients?
Absolutely.
Sometimes you don't even remember how you ended up with it.
No.
You're like, what the hell is this? Like, Chipotle? What?
It's so true.
I feel like I look at my fridge like that all the time. I'm like, I have no idea what I'm going to make. I love how that you just, put stuff together, because I can't do that. I have to follow a recipe, because I'm like, I don't know what tastes good together. I don't know if this is going to be all right.
I think it's much like your people's personalities.
Yeah.
Like, sometimes people like order, so it's easier for them to look at a recipe and be like, okay, I need to get these ingredients at the grocery store. These are the steps.
Yeah.
And then some people are just, wild,
creative,
and they're like either wild or creative, and they're like, oh, okay, well, let me see, I can just.
I'm not there.
She's like, I'm not there.
I'm not there yet.
But really, through family is how I got, cooking. My grandmother on my mother's side actually had basically the first food trucks,
Yeah, cool.
And she would make food and for the working class.
Yeah.
My dad was also a cook in the Navy. And I've always loved to cook. It's always been a stress reliever. And at points in my life, when my mom was working, she would just call and be like, all right, Tanya, start the beans, defrost the meat.
Yeah.
And she would kind of just give you a couple of guidelines. And then, she just expected for something to be kind of ready so she could come in and finish it off and then, be able to feed us and continue on with the day. So,
And so you decided, I love cooking so much, I'm actually going to go to school for this. You made that decision. And then how did you, because for our listeners that don't know, she is a cannabis chef as well. And where did you find yourself getting into that aspect of it?
So earlier you said that I'm a culinary nutritionist, which that's true. I went to school for Johnson and Wales. So on top of the regular courses that you take to graduate as a culinary student with your bachelor's, it was like having 2 degrees because you go to all the classes for nutrition. So that started with healthy cooking, how to make things without eggs for people who don't eat eggs, how to make things without corn syrup, and so forth. So through the nutrition side of my degree, people would come to me and say, you know, I have this person, they have cancer, they can't really like chew on things, they can't really swallow. Do you think that you could come up with something so that we could get the food in, but maybe also get this other element, which is part of their health, whether it was maintenance or getting better. And sometimes that's through CBD, and sometimes it's not. And through my clients was how I kind of started dabbling in that and seeing, well, what kind of things can I make? You know, what can you... a sucking candy. Yeah. Maybe I can make a sucking candy, and that way, whether it's cancer or maybe you don't have any teeth, you can't chew on something hard. Maybe something like a sucking candy where you can, over time, it'll dissolve naturally, and then you can get your medication or your relief or whatever you're using it for. Right. So that's kind of how I got started into the medical side of it.
That's so interesting.
It really is.
Because, I mean, just thinking about the whole healthcare system of America and how it's pretty messed up, and especially with our food and how, I mean, I feel like the American diet especially is just like so backwards from a lot of other countries and just like nutrition wise. So combining the two, like medically with culinary, I think is amazing. So
yeah, I think a big part of that is, education, and I think the United States is definitely doing a better job in educating their citizens in regards to like foods and what you should be eating and what are recommendations. And that's a big part of it. And I think you see more people, whether it's on social media. Yeah, absolutely. Whether it's on social media. Same with like a body image campaign or like feel good about yourself. And it's more about trying to eat healthy and not so much pushing you need to be a certain size or you can't have any butter in your diet. Or you can't have, I think sometimes we do extremes when it comes to anything, new hobby, or new anything. You go, you're like, oh, I'm into surfing. You get a new surfboard, you get wax, you get like the whatever the surfers are wearing, and next thing you know, you're just sitting on your couch watching people surf on YouTube. Right. So, and I'm not, no judgment. I mean, we've all done that, but I think like that's part of it. And this is also part of it too. It's a way to introduce people to marijuana, whether it's a CBD or whether it's THCA form, and showing them, we're making brownies and we're making gummy bears, but this is a trained chef. She's a nutritionist. And I'd like to see where my audience takes it, because I can do nutritious food. I can do savory. And I just really love to teach people, whether it's cooking or anything else. And I would love it for it to be even an introduction to cooking or an introduction to like, oh, okay, so she's like not what I typically would think a stoner is, she's not, you see a stoner in a movie, it's kind of portrayed a certain way.
A stereotype.
And I think along with the other women in this room, we're educated, we like to have fun, but we also are professional and we have goals in our careers and in our personal lives. And I think that's a big part of it in a sense. For sure. I remember when I was kind of thinking, oh, well, should I do this show? Like, is this going to affect my career? And I was talking to my mom about it, and she's like, the world is changing. And she goes, and if you're doing something because it's only okay for somebody else, then do what you want to do.
Right. That's just going to make you happy.
Exactly.
And at the end of the day, you're going to find your audience. I feel like there are 7 billion people on the earth and growing.
Yes.
So no matter what it is that you're putting out there, you're going to find your audience. And you might even find a new audience because people are interested in. They're seeing this woman who's educated in not only cannabis, but she's educated on a nutritional level and all of these things. So I feel like people will look at that and say, okay, you're right, stepping away from that stoner mindset. And she's like, people are looking at you and like, she cooks regular food, she cooks, you know, medical food, and all of the things that I feel like people are sort of interested in today's society.
Yeah, and it's been great. Just today, actually, I got an email from someone who watched the Gummy Bear episode.
Yeah.
That's actually at like 11,000 views right now.
That's
so
amazing.
like that one went viral. And she was like, you know, I love it. It was educational. It was funny. She's like, my daughter's making the infused version, but me and my granddaughter want to make like an organic version so we can put like her vitamins in it. And she was asking me like all these questions of like, what's the uses of the corn syrup in the recipe, and can we make it with something else like agave and honey? So you know, it was like, you know, in the midst of getting back to her, and I'm like, okay, time for the radio show, but afterwards, and I love that. Like, it doesn't really have to be any question about infusion, but just the fact that she like asked me a million questions, I felt comfortable. Like that's what I want to be. I want to be accessible to people,
Right.
and as much as I can, like answer their cooking questions.
And so let's get into a little bit about your YouTube show, because I don't know if a lot of listeners know that you have been doing this. And so it's on YouTube. I know that it is produced by Mr. DL.
Yes.
And so tell us a little bit about that. When did it start? How did that idea come about?
Well, the Mr. DL and I, he's the director and the producer on the show, and we had been talking about it for a while. We were just like, oh, we should do this. We should do a cooking show, and I'm like, yeah, we should do edibles. And it was pretty much at the start of when I first started getting requests from people like, oh, you know, can you make this for me? And together we came up with the name, and a lot of people get confused about the name, so it's Mmmedical Edibles.
Yes,
you
I
know,
like it,
and it's with 3 M's, because you know, it's
like some good food.
Exactly.
Good eating, yeah.
Exactly. And then we started thinking, like, what could be the first show? Like, what do we want to start off with? And we thought of brownies, because
Can't go wrong with
you
that.
can't go wrong with that. And most people you talk to, if you ask them what was your first experience in terms of an edible, they'll tell you it was probably a brownie.
Yeah, I feel like for sure.
They'll probably tell you it also tasted disgusting. Because most people are like, it was so bad and it was so oily. So we thought that would be a great first episode. Everybody loves brownies. I love chocolate. I think I say that in at least one of the episodes. I probably say that over and over again. And it was great. Like, people liked it. We got, I think, over 1,000 views, I want to say.
Wow, that's awesome. 1,500
views on that one, which if you look at like an underground rapper, like their average view is about 800.
Right. Yeah.
So I'm like, oh,
You're like, okay.
I'm above average. I like to be above average.
I like it, yeah.
And then we went on from there. We did our gummy bears, like I said, which went viral. We did Jolly Rancher candies.
I saw
chocolate chunk cookies.
Yeah, there was so many good things, and I love the way that your episodes are, because it's not like an hour episode. Some people can't get through that, and it's like what, like 10 minutes or so.
We try to keep it short because, you know, the attention span. So most of us are doing many things during the day. And if you want a recipe, I feel like you want it step by step, and you want that information, but you also don't want to be there in front of the TV for like 30 minutes to an hour. So we try to keep it short. The last episode that we did was a cornbread. We did actually 2 versions. We did like a honey cornbread, and then we did a savory one with like smoked bacon and like all these ingredients. So that one I think was about maybe 16, 17 minutes or something like that.
Perfect.
Yeah.
But you get 2 recipes in one.
Right, yeah. So that's awesome.
I think it's hard for the director to reel me in too, because, you know, I want to make, like, when I made the brownies, I wanted to make like a chocolate ganache, and then I wanted to make like, you know, 8 different versions. Like, you could do it this way, you could do it that way. But I think maybe in other episodes it could be like, ways to top your brownie, and then
Right.
refer back to that episode.
Yeah,
you know?
that's
There's just
smart.
so much I want to teach people, but obviously you don't want to overwhelm them. So
And I love the episodes too with like the little snippets of like
Yeah,
you know
the comedy.
movies and comedy. It keeps people interested. I feel like because in general we live in a society where people want instant gratification. They want to see things right away. So I like how they have those to break it up because it keeps it people
Fun.
wanting to watch and fun. And yeah, I enjoyed that because I don't know, I feel like I'm like a little
no,
kid.
that I must admit that Mr. DL has to take all the credit for that, because when we started, it wasn't like that was planned, that we were like,
Yeah.
oh, we're gonna do this, and then as he was editing, he was like, oh, what do you think if we did this? And I'm like, I think that would be hilarious.
Yeah.
You know, like let's say you're on the couch and you're watching it with a bunch of people.
Right.
One person's going to be interested because they want to learn how to make it.
Yeah.
The other person is just going to be like, that looks good.
Right.
And the other person will be like, wait, what's going on? Oh, look, cartoons. Oh, he said something
True.
funny.
Oh, comedy.
You know?
Yeah, absolutely.
Everyone can watch it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. And then I just also noticed how you were doing, like, not just, like, sweet stuff, but, like, fried chicken or...
Yeah.
So what do you like to do more? More savory, or, like, are you more sweets, or...
I don't think I have a preference. I just think I'm better at, like, the savory, because obviously I didn't go to Johnson & Wales for the pastry degree. Although, you know, I'm thinking about it now. I'm like,
Yeah.
maybe I can go back.
Yeah.
Yeah, why not?
But like the decorating side, that's the part where I'm not good at it, but I still do it. And I look for people that I went to school with that I know they did pastry. I'm like, hey, I'm trying to do this. Like, do you have any recommendations? Because I've been reading up on chocolate, and that also helps.
Yeah.
But I like to do savory because I feel that most people don't expect it.
Definitely.
And I like to be unexpected. I don't like to be the norm or the
Right.
cookie cutter. Like, I just like to be me, and that's very me. I'm very, I mean, no, you can't see over radio, but I'm very, like, my nails are very bright, neon colors. Like, I'm just really vibrant.
Yeah.
And I just want people to feel that, you know?
Yeah. And I think your food really speaks for itself.
Thank
I mean,
you.
Seeing that, and I mean, because I see
Yeah,
a lot
seeing
of
your
other
page and
like
stuff, yeah.
edible people out there, but it is kind of like the same thing that they're coming out with, which is fine. I mean, if you have a good product and you don't want to change it, but I like how you're doing more. It's more like high end, I'd say, in a way, and I think that's really cool.
Yeah.
So I just had a question. Do you also like cater parties or like?
Absolutely. I was just going to say that when you said high ends. I want to invite the three of you, actually.
Ooh, yes, please.
We don't have a date yet, but I'm going to host a dinner, and I'm going to have people, just like people that I've met throughout my career, my short career so far, but invite people that just have been supportive, and just kind of like a showcase of what I have to offer in terms of the culinary world.
Yeah.
So it'll be several, I'm thinking like a 7-course type of thing. Don't worry, I won't overfeed you or overindulge you, because, you got to be safe. But just a variety of things so people can really see what I can do, and open it up to like the community. Really, I'm not trying to be something so I can be famous. I'm me, and I don't think it's about being famous. It's about teaching people. I love to do it.
You're putting it out there,
Yeah.
that's all that matters.
And
You're doing something that you love.
Exactly, just
And if
like
it
the
brings
three
you
of you.
success, then,
Absolutely.
That's awesome.
But, successes, I was at the Freedom Rally 2 weekends ago, and I was literally helping Ill-Mannered Films get the booth ready, and I'm like bent over, like nothing showing. But, I was like in my work mode, with my Timbs on, and this guy goes, hey, I know you. And I'm like, first of all, it scared the shit out of me, because I'm from New York, and when people creep up on you, you're like, what? But he goes, hey, I know you. You're that chef from that cooking show. Like, he said it kind of aggressively, but like, he's like, yeah. I've been watching it. I'm like, oh, okay, thank you. And that was cool. Like, that was cool. I was like, oh, wow. Like, that's a real person,
Yeah.
It's like you see the numbers go up, but then you're like, there's real people actually, like, over 10,000 people saw this face.
That's so
it was
crazy.
like, oh,
That's
she's
awesome.
cool.
That's crazy.
And that must feel amazing too, like when you start to see people respond to you. Like I know, like in all of our professions, when we have clients and stuff, and they're happy, and you're getting good feedback. So
That's the best gratification. Anybody's like in a service industry, whether you're like a masseuse or you teach yoga or you're a chef or a server or, you know, even if you're a nurse, like when people say thank you, like you affected my life, like
Right.
you there was change after you. Even if it's small, like it's very gratifying.
Yeah.
oh, for sure.
I think that's
Absolutely.
what we work for, you
Yeah.
know, for that, in a sense,
Yeah.
you know. And then when people actually say thank you, you're just like, oh, this is why I'm in this industry.
Right.
This is why I'm doing what I'm doing.
Absolutely. You're not in it for the thank you, but the thank you makes it why you do it.
Exactly.
It makes it that much
Absolutely.
sweeter at the end of the day.
So we're just going to take a quick break, and then we're going to come back, and we're going to find out all of the people you've gotten to cook for, and we're really excited to hear about that stuff. So stay with us just a moment. What's up? We're back, everybody. Revolution Awakening. We have on with us our special guest for the future is female, Chef Tanya Nicole of Mmmedical Edibles. And so we are just continuing the conversation that we were having earlier about where her career has brought her in the edibles game. And so I know that you got the opportunity to cook for some pretty cool people. So tell us, who were these people and how did you have this opportunity to do this?
So, in the past, I've cooked or baked for Redman, Cypress Hill, also Eric Bobo from Cypress Hill, and most recently Stephen Marley. Because of luck, really, and just word of mouth and knowing people, working through Ill-Mannered Films on some of the production that I'm in the Weekend Warrior show, so I act as well. I've been able to meet these people and, well, you know, you have to seize every opportunity,
Absolutely.
especially as an entrepreneur, as a small business owner, as a woman, as a minority. And so I've been able to, you know, bake for them. Just recently at the Freedom Rally, I was talking to Rockness Monster, and I was like, oh, I got to make you some real food because the last time I saw him, I made him like a goodie bag of like lemonade and like every single edible that I had. I was like, here, you got to try this, and you got to try this, and you got to try this. And I'm like, oh, I want to make you some good, like some home cooking, something that that you want to eat. Like, you know, if you're on tour and stuff, I'm sure you miss home.
Right.
So whether it's a slice of New York pizza or what is it, clam chowder here in New England.
And so what did you bake for Cypress Hill?
For Cypress Hill, I made these. So they're from the West Coast. So I did a chocolate cupcake, but I infused it with cinnamon and a little bit of chili. In Mexico, they use a lot of chocolate in their cooking. So I took that as inspiration. And it was around Halloween time, so I put like skeletons on it, and I put this lovely chocolate ganache frosting that I like to make, and you know, I tried to use the artist as my inspiration for whatever I'm making, so that everybody gets something individual, you know.
Because I know, like for the Stephen Marley one, you had like flags on.
I did a Jamaican flag. You can actually check that out on the episode 5 of Medical Edibles. But you know, I made cornbread, and I made a sweet honey cornbread. I was just thinking, you know, like a lot of times when you miss home, you hearty. So I thought of something hearty and sweet.
You must have loved that.
That sounds
He
so
did.
good.
He
My mouth
was
is watering.
really funny about it. He's like, "How much should I have?" He's like, "A pinch." He was like looking at me like, "She's the devil. What's she put in there?"
You're like, no, I'm not gonna poison you. Trust me.
Yeah. And then for Redman, when I was making edibles for him, I actually made homemade chocolate sandwich cookies. If you know what I mean, aka Oreo cookies, but they were my version of Oreo cookies. So I made the chocolate cookies, and then I made the cream red for Red Man. So, you know, it was a small cookie with a big punch.
Right.
I know, I do too.
That's so dope. Like, so if you had the chance to cook for like anybody, who would it be?
Oh, wow.
I guess you could pick more than one.
Well, if I had to pick somebody in the music world, I'm a big Mary J. Blige fan. Like, I grew up with Mary J. Blige. I don't know of any woman that can't listen to any of her I almost said cassette tape. Soundtrack, CD, you know, iTunes, whatever you're listening to, and feel some kind of way when she sings. So I love Mary J. Blige. I would love, but I don't think she does edibles. It would probably just be regular food for her.
Right.
But I think like that would be in the music world, that would be definitely. In the culinary world, I would love to cook for Ina Gardner or Tyler Florence. Those are like my two favorites. They're just really kind of like my style, where they're just like regular people cooking in their kitchen, trying to teach you how to do something.
I like that, yeah. And so I know that you also do, so you mentioned like quickly that you do a lemonade. So are you also like infusing drinks? So is everything?
I infuse everything. Anything, you know, things that are easy to infuse too, like on a daily basis. If you wanted to like tea, something that could be infused, hot chocolate, soup, things of that nature, very easy to infuse, especially if you save your keef. If you're someone who smokes marijuana.
I lived in Seattle for a little bit, and I used to go to like dispensaries, and they had a lot of like juices and like just infused teas. That's where I was like, yes, tea would work too. But it was really cool because I never seen that before until I moved out there, and I was like, whoa, I was kind of overwhelmed. They had like so much stuff.
In the West, I feel like they have a lot of options because they've been doing it for a lot longer. So when people go out there, I always hear like stories like that, or they'll tell me, oh, I have this gummy bear and it's 1,000 milligrams. And I'm like, what you gonna do with that?
Right. It's like too much.
So it just depends. I mean, hey, maybe some people have a really high tolerance and that's like a snack for them. But it's interesting to see all the new things.
All the new things. I was just like, wow, you can actually have this as an edible. You know, I think they had popcorn. I was like, wait, I've never seen that.
Yeah, and that's like
it's pretty cool. The same thing.
Like what you're doing is just it's like out of the box.
Yeah, I think people like the surprise of it and being like, oh wow, I never would have thought to do that with that. Or you know, I have this in the house, I could do it myself. I could do it right now. I think things like the magical butter help, you know, because that's also helping people kind of infuse their butter or whatever else they want to infuse and be able to use it, and then just have it stored so that when they want to make stuff for themselves, they can do it too.
So is that kind of what you would suggest, maybe like a first time home cook that's kind of trying this out, is to get one of those things, or would you say there might be like an easier way?
I think like realistically, you always want to try to use whatever you have in your house. You know, like if you have to go out and buy it, then you know it's probably going to be a hindrance for you to do it in anything in life. So you can use things like a crock pot, you know, like something that you can put on for like 3 hours if you needed to. You put it on low, and then you could also do it on the stovetop too. And there's a lot of different ways on doing just that, whether it's making canna butter or whether you're trying to infuse alcohol. And what I recommend, and I do this to like all my clients when I teach in-home cooking classes and things like that in teenager, I always tell them, if you want to make something, go and research whatever you're comfortable with. If you like to go to cookbooks because you like to hold the cookbook, then go to cookbooks. If not, go online. Okay, so I want to make beans. Let's just say it for that. Look up 10 different recipes on making beans. Same thing if you're trying to make canna butter. I think that if you have a slow cooker, that's easy because you don't have to watch it. And we know sometimes when we get high, we get despistado, we say in Spanish, which means we're not paying attention. But something like a slow cooker where you can set it for 3 hours at the lowest temperature, put in the butter, put in whether it's your keef or whatever you have to do, and then just like I like to say, set it and forget it, you know? And that way you can come and whether it's the end of the day or what have you. And you should also know that depending on what you're using, like if you're using marijuana that's ground up or whether you're using keef, it's probably going to smell in your dwelling. So whether whether you're a college student in a university campus
Right.
or at home, in a building where you have neighbors, just be aware that you are going to cause alarm because it's going to smell the whole house. So, things that you want to do. And I hope everyone's researching things and not just doing it crazy.
Yeah, that's true. And that's why people can look up your show on YouTube.
Absolutely,
Yes.
absolutely.
And so I know that you also have episodes on how to, like what we were just kind of talking about, rather than just episodes of like recipes.
Yes. Well, right now, I think part of at least 2 episodes we talk about decarbing, but a lot of times what we'll do is underneath the YouTube, when you can click on the links below, we'll have information on, okay, if you want to make canna butter, like this is how you do it. I think that we didn't want to start off with just instructional videos that a lot of, which again, I'm not saying they're doing it wrong. There should be a million out there, so people are like, oh, I can do it this way, I can do it that way. But we wanted to just start with like a full start to finish show. But again, in the future, I think we'll do like, oh, if you wanted to use like BHO, this is how you would do it. Okay. If you wanted to use straight flower, as they call it, which means marijuana, this is how you would do it. We've done keef, so if you want to learn how to do the keef, you can check the episodes. Do it right now. No, do it in about 15 minutes when we're done.
Exactly.
So we want to make sure that we're kind of doing something different, so we didn't want to start off with that. But we definitely have the information available within the episodes, or like I said, below the episodes.
Perfect. And what is the actual YouTube channel that people can find you on?
So the YouTube channel is at Mr. DL, MYSTERDL, the letter L as in love. I'm being stupid, but that's okay. He is the director of the show, so you can find it on his channel.
Perfect.
Some of the other things that I was working on are doing some narrations, and I do that for 21 questions. So it's called Sessions and 21 Questions. And I interview different artists and different people, whether they're in the music industry or not, basically artistic people.
Nice. So you're not just a cook, but you're also...
We do a little bit of dabbling. Yeah. They twisted my arm. It didn't really need to be twisted that much, but they twisted my arm. And then I also narrate Custom Agents, which is a show with different artists every show. And we did 2 on how to customize your sneakers. We did an Air Force One.
Dope.
And we did a custom sneaker for Bobby Nuggs. It's actually Endo Joe 710. He's the artist. And then the last one was how to make a Star Wars Luke Skywalker robotic glove for those of you out there.
That's
so
cool.
we're just with like everyday stuff. I've been very lucky to be able to work with Mr. DL and Ill Mannered Films and kind of get pulled in different directions that, again, nothing that I had set forth.
Opportunities came
exactly.
up. Exactly.
Right.
Absolutely.
That's all that matters.
Opportunities. And then the biggest thing in the future is the Weekend Warrior Show, which is a series that we hope to either get picked up by Netflix or some kind of streaming show, and we're promoting that. And Cypress Hill actually just had loaded it recently onto its Facebook page. I think it's like,
wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
I forgot how many views, but it's a lot of views.
Yeah.
So that was like a super, like a big compliment, you know, for them. Like, they believe in the project, because when you're in something, you always, well, I hope if you're doing something, you're in it and you believe in it.
Absolutely.
And I think it's very funny. It's a very funny show. So
That's so
those are all the things
cool.
I've been working on.
Yeah, so there's a lot of things that we can find her on.
Serious lady boss in the building, guys.
Yeah, we do.
The future is
I'm
female. We weren't
humbled,
joking.
but I'm in great company. Don't let them fool you.
And so where do you see yourself, like, in, let's say 5 years, because I know 10 years can be a little crazy, but...
In 5 years, I would love to have like a food truck and kind of go mobile and even do like a pop-up dinner, kind of pop-up kitchen kind of thing. In 10 years, I would love to have like a commercial space where I could have a commercial kitchen and have people come to me and like learn, like, I have diabetes, can you help me like count my carbs and increase my fiber? Absolutely. You have celiac, well, this is the way. Oh, you want to learn how to cook with infusions? Okay, fine. Just a place where people can come together and be all about food, whatever it means to them.
Yeah, I love that.
I do too.
And I
love
think
all the options.
Definitely, right? And I mean, just for how long how much you've come this far in such a short period of time too, I think your goals will definitely be met. If
Thank
not
you,
sooner
thank
than
you.
that.
Absolutely.
And we're behind you all the way.
Thank you. Feels good to have a lot of strong women behind us, supporting each other.
Yes.
You know, because that's what is important. We can't tear each other down.
Right.
You know, support your local entrepreneur, support your local hustler. That's just, you know, trying to like make ends meet and, you know, do what they love and provide and support for themselves and their family.
Yeah, definitely.
I agree.
And so we can find you on Mr. DL on YouTube, and you can also, I've done my own thing. You can just put in Mmmedical Edibles, and usually you can find
and it's
it.
with 3 M's because it's so damn good. You need 3 of them in there, okay?
And your Instagram is?
My Instagram is Chef Tanya Nicole, and that's TanyNicole. And my other Instagram, if you want to look at my infusions as well, is Mmmedical Edibles, and that's with 3 M's.
And if they want to get in contact with you, do you have like a email?
Yep, yeah, they can reach me at the same, Chef Tanya Nicole at Gmail, or Mmmedical Edibles with 3 M's at gmail.com. And you can also go on our Facebook with the same name, Chef Tanya Nicole. And
Okay. And you do like consultations for
absolutely.
people? Okay.
If people have questions, I'm happy to answer them. If people have comments, suggestions, any type of constructive criticism, I welcome it. I get emails and contacted from all kinds of people. Some things I can do and answer, and some things I say, oh, this is not my area of expertise, but I always love to refer to somebody that is, if it's something I don't know.
For sure.
Cool.
Well, Tanya, do you have any questions for her? Or?
I want to know if you partake in tasting your own foods after you've cooked them and stuff like that. Like, are you like an everyday edible user or marijuana user? Or like, tell us a little bit about your background in that area.
Okay. I would say that my background would be mostly like pot brownies is in my history that I've done, but I always make whatever I bake or cook. And these opportunities to do the cooking show as well as interact with other people, I've gotten to taste so many different edibles. Like when I made fried chicken, like it hit me so hard. And I'm like a person that I'm always like, oh, you know, I rather smoke, or, you know, like it doesn't, I'm always like, oh, it doesn't hit me as hard, because everybody it hits differently.
Right.
You know, I had a Jamaican girlfriend, I'm not gonna say her name, and she was like, oh, you know, like I smoke all the time, and I'm like, yeah, but edibles are different.
Right.
And I made her a caramel turtle. So it had pecan. I made the caramel with canna butter, and then I infused the chocolate. So everything except the pecans were infused.
Yeah.
And she said she had like a quarter of it, had an anxiety attack, and had to call somebody over.
You never know.
No, you never know. But I've learned by cooking, you know, I can't taste it. You know, what you taste like maybe one through the process, especially if it's like savory. And then at the end, obviously, you always want to taste what you're making before you give it to, whether it's a gift or a client.
At the end, you're stoned already at that point.
Girl,
Exactly.
because you know it wasn't just like, oh, I'm making edibles today, so I'm not going to smoke.
Right.
Like, of course.
Right.
And sometimes I impress myself, like, I made this ganache. It's a ganache frosting, and it's an old school way of making it that I found, and I was like, oh, this is interesting, because I'm one of the cookbook people. I like books, so I collect actual cookbooks, and it took me 4 hours to make. It's just a frosting, but when I tell you it's a food orgasm, it's like, you know, with frosting, you want it thick, so it's thick. But in your mouth, it feels like mousse, and it just like melts. Like I'm salivating right now. It's so good that I've been literally pimping out the ganache. I'm like, oh, you want that? You want carrot cake? You want it with this 4-hour chocolate ganache?
You want it, you do.
Peach cobbler? You want it with this chocolate? Like things that don't necessarily go together, but it's so good.
Whatever works, right?
And then I have one more question for you too, for all those fellow lady bosses out there, or just entrepreneurs in general. Do you have any words of advice for them in terms of, getting started, or any times where you have felt doubt in yourself and you said, you know what, I'm going to keep going? Like anything that you can tell those ladies or those people in general, how to stay inspired?
If you don't start, you'll never know, And it's funny because, I went to culinary school, but I went to culinary school after I had already gotten a business degree from Bentley University. Shout out to Johnson & Wales and Bentley, my alumni. Because my mother was a single mother who raised us, and I told her coming out of high school, okay, Mom, I want to go to culinary school or I want to be a mechanic. I'm good with my hands. I like to do things with my hands. Yeah. And she was like, no, you're going to business school. And not that I didn't appreciate that, because she was doing what a mom does. Right. And then after I had some part in that career, I decided to go do what I really wanted to do, and what I had been doing, working in restaurants and stuff. And I'm not going to say don't listen to your parents. Obviously listen to your parents. But at some point, if there's an idea that you have, it's not that you can't go to college and be an underground rapper, if that's what you want to do.
Right.
It's not that you can't do that. But if you want to do it, find a way to do it. Don't say, oh, I'm too tired, or there's not enough hours in the day, because whether it's sports, whether it's actresses, whether it's people that they were homeless and then all of a sudden they're multimillionaires because they have a talent, or they had an idea. They did that because they started and they had a passion and they believed in themselves. And I bet a lot of times people were like, no, that's not going to work, or you're crazy. And I'm not saying that sometimes it's not going to work and it's not going to be crazy, but at least you tried it. And even if it's literally 10 minutes a day, if you say, okay, I want to do this, so then I guess you're dedicating 10 minutes every day to how can you do that?
Right.
Because if you can't even dedicate 10 minutes in the day yourself, why would anybody believe in whatever you're going to do?
Exactly.
And that's with anything in life. You just have to really believe in yourself and make the path for it.
Love it.
I love it.
Truth everywhere.
Amen.
Well, thank you for everybody who has tuned into this live episode of Revolution Awakening. We will have this on iTunes within the next week, so definitely if you need to check back, hear us over there. Follow our girl, Chef Tanya Nicole, on Instagram, Mmmedical Edibles on Instagram as well, and definitely check out her YouTube show because that shit is ill. We're definitely going to be trying some of your recipes too.
Yes, and please send me all your requests and things that you guys want me to cook or make, or any questions that you have.
Ooh. Yes. And so next week we are going to have another episode of Revolution Awakening, Tuesdays on Boston Free Radio, live from 2 to 3 p.m. So make sure you check that out, and thanks for tuning in.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.